Hello everyone, in this video I'll be doing a tier list of the cantrips in Baldur's Gate 3. So, there's some great ones here and some not so great ones, and there's a lot of discussion online about these, so I thought I'd give my thoughts on them. First things first, we got Acid Splash, which I think is one of the worst. It does acid damage, which is commonly resisted, and it also has a dexterity saving throw, so early on in the game, where everything seems to have very high dexterity, you're not going to hit this very often. So I think that this is not that great, and you're better off using other spells and cantrips for damage. Next we got Blade Ward, which it uses an action, it lasts 2 turns. It can have some uses, like it might be useful for you if you have a squishy wizard, but there's tons of ways, better ways to make your wizard stronger, so I think that this is just not that great of a cantrip overall, and I'm going to have to put that in the C tier. It only lasts 2 turns. It can be nice setting up before battle, but again, there's better options out there for your action economy. Next we got Bone Chill, and I think Bone Chill is actually pretty good. It stops the target from receiving healing, and it deals necrotic damage. It's a necromancy cantrip. I think this one can be pretty great, and useful in certain instances against certain boss fights, so I'm going to put that one in the A tier, because I think Bone Chill it's quite useful, and compared to some of the other cantrips here, it's pretty decent. We next got the Dancing Lights, which there's light and there's dancing light. They're useful in Act 1 when you're in the Underdark in Act 2, but yeah, maybe like a, I don't know, B tier to C tier, somewhere around there. Not super useful compared to a lot of other cantrips that we got. And light kind of does a similar thing. It'll light up your whoever you target for a very large range, so the light is a little bit better. Next we got Eldritch Blast. This is the best cantrip hands down. This goes very top of the S tier. What makes Eldritch Blast so good is the fact that Warlock can have Repelling Blast and add their Charisma modifier to the damage that Eldritch Blast will do. So they can do like 3 Eldritch Blasts. It has knockback, so you can potentially knock back 3 people and end a confrontation right then and there. It's a great cantrip, and even like for a warlock, sometimes it's best just to go with Eldritch Blast and not really focus on your spells, because this thing is quite powerful. So yeah, Eldritch Blast is definitely the best cantrip by far. Next we got Firebolt, and I really do like Firebolt. It's decent for damage, and what I think works best with this is it can light things on fire. So if you set up grease, or if you're a subscriber of Barrelmancy and you want to blow up a bunch of explosive barrels, this is the way to do it, as it's not going to cost you a spell slot. And certain classes will get this inherently high elves, so it's quite nice just to have for utility. I wouldn't rely on it overly much for damage later on in the game, but it's definitely nice to have. Next we got Friends. Now, I personally think Friends is really great, and not a lot of people always agree, but if you're the face of your party, you want to have Friends as a cantrip. Reason being, it allows you to succeed on conversation dialogue options more frequently, and that's something that's great for role-playing, but I think that if you can take it and you're the face of your party, definitely take it. It's one of the best cantrips. Giving up something that produces damage for Friends, I think, is worthwhile in the grand scheme of things, because this will help with your overall playing. And sometimes you get out of confrontations by using Friends. So I think it's pretty great. Some people online don't think it's that amazing, but yeah, I think it's pretty good. Next we got Guidance, and this is another S tier. This is amazing. Guidance is super useful. Again, similar to Friends, in conversations, you can pop Guidance to make sure that you're going to be getting those dice rolls. It's super useful. Always have somebody that has Guidance at all times. If you remove them from your party, find a way to get it on someone else, because Guidance is just that good. Succeeding on ability checks is super useful, and it's kind of what Baldur's Gate 3 is all about. So yeah, you definitely want that. Guidance is great. Next we got Light, and I put Light above Dancing Light. It's a lot better. You can light up a target. This is super useful in the Underdark and other areas that may have a lot of darkness that you want to avoid having to deal with. So it can be pretty good, but it's not the best. It's just a cantrip, you know. At the end of the day, it does what you want from it a bit better than Dancing Lights does. So I think pretty much most classes that have cantrip selection will get light, so it's nice. Next is Mage Hand. Now, Mage Hand is a little bit controversial. I personally think that Mage Hand can be really, really nice just in combat for the ability to throw things around. It is situational though, so I am going to put it into the B tier. What's nice about Mage Hand is you can drop potions, get it to throw potions at your team, so that would be better in the action economy in Baldur's Gate 3 than having a cleric use heals, because that's going to use up an action. or potentially a bonus action to heal. Well, you can have this little floating hand throw things at you, and then your cleric can focus on doing what it does best with other types of damage. Because in the action economy, healing is not something you want to be doing. It's better to take out enemies so you don't get hurt and you don't have to heal versus having to heal. So I think Mage Hand is pretty great. It could go into the A tier. Like, it does have some instances where it's above light, but there's a lot of times where I pop Mage Hand and I was like, wow, why did I do that? That was kind of a waste. Next, we got Minor Illusion, and this I'm also going to put up in the S tier. Reason being, you can instigate this before a combat encounter, and then it groups everyone together, and that's the perfect time for Gale to drop a big fat fireball on them. So it's really nice for that purpose, but also if you're looking to steal from a chest or something, or if you want to pickpocket, Minor Illusion, it'll draw everyone's aggro away. There's so many times in the game where this will have an effective use, and I don't see a lot of people using it to its full advantage, but it is great. If you want to create water, group everyone into the water, have your Tempest Cleric drop a max lightning attack on them. Everything's done on turn 1 with that strategy. So I do think it's S tier, and some people don't agree, but I do think that there's a lot of usefulness for this. So yeah, S tier. Next, we got Poison Spray. Same thing as Acid Spray. Lots of things resist it. It doesn't do amazing damage, and there's better options out there. So Acid and Poison, I think Poison's the most resisted damage type in all of Baldur's Gate 3. So yeah, it doesn't have as effective usage as like a Firebolt or a Bone Chill, but yeah, I never really take it, and I think there's just better options out there. Next, we got Produce Flame, which is kind of similar to Firebolt, just a little bit weaker. What's nice about this is that you use an action to create the flame, and then you can also throw it for free. But if you were to wait the next turn and then throw it, it will cost an action. So it's kind of like Firebolt with extra steps. There is some usefulness to it, but again, if you can get Firebolt, much preferred, because it's just a little bit better. Next, we got Ray of Cold, or Ray of Frost, and I think this is another decent one, just for the reason that I mentioned with Minor Illusion. If you drop a water bottle or use Create Water, this will deal double damage. So that could actually make it the best of the damaging cantrips. And not enough to put it up in the S tier, but I do think it has some usefulness. And I think synergy with something like Minor Illusion. Minor Illusion can also synergize with like Firebolt. If you did an illusion, drew a lot of enemies together near something explosive, and then exploded it, boom, encounter's over. So there's a lot of synergy between these. Next, we get Resistance. I don't know. It's situational, but just not that great. There's oftentimes a lot better uses of your action. So yeah, I don't think it's the worst cantrip, but it's just not that great. Next, we got Sacred Flame, which, yeah, Shadowheart loves to miss with this, but until you respec her and make sure that she's got better stats. I think that Sacred Flame can be decent at times. Like, I'm tempted to put it up in the A tier. I think that there's definitely, yeah, I'll put it in the A tier. Radiant damage is nice because it's going to deal extra to undead. So there's some points in the game where this will be really nice just for utility's sake. Guiding Bolt as a cleric is a little bit better, but just having radiant damage is nice sometimes. Chalet. This is a bonus action cantrip for druids. It can be pretty decent. What it does is it imbues your weapon. I would say A to S tier early in the game because it makes it a 1d8 for damage. So chances are your weapon's not going to be doing as much damage as Chalet would do. So that would be A tier. It falls off hard later on. So I'll put it in the B tier just to be fair, because it does have some use early on in the game for a druid. But druids most of the time are going to spend most of their time in wild shape, so they won't have access to that. So yeah, there's better cantrips out there. Shocking Grasp. This one is right up there with Ray of Frost. And what's nice about Shocking Grasp is it stops the target from using reactions. So what usefulness comes from that is the fact that you can, if you have, let's say, a mage close by and you want to be able to run them away, use Shocking Grasp on them. They won't be able to attack with a reaction, and you're free to jump away scot-free. So definitely has some use in the game early on. And same with Ray of Frost. It does double damage in water, so set up water, fam. That's going to help you out a lot. Next, we got Thaumaturgy, and kind of the same deal. It's a little bit better than like Resistance or Blade Ward because you get the temporary health and prevents Frightened. But there is some Paladin auras that you can get that'll accomplish a similar thing. I'll put it in the B tier though, because Frighten can completely take you out. You don't want that. Thorn Whip. I think that Thorn Whip can be okay. I'm going to put it at the bottom of the A tier. It's another druid spell. It pulls the enemy towards you. So you can set it up like if there's a drawbridge or something, you can walk on the drawbridge, pull people into the gaps. It has some usefulness for janky things like that. Kind of how Eldritch Blast is nice because you can push things away. This will pull them into anywheres that you want to take the enemy. So off cliffs and things like that. It can be quite nice. But again, it's a bit more situational, so it might be like top of the B tier type deal, but I'm going to put it in the A tier. True Strike. This is the worst. This takes an action to give you advantage on your next attack roll. You're better off just doing the attack roll. Honestly, like even if you have someone with a really low chance of hit, it's better to just attack with it than use True Strike. If this was a bonus action, it would probably be S tier, but the fact that you use an action just to gain advantage, not useful. It's easy F tier. Finally, we got Vicious Mockery, and this one is a fun pick. I'm going to put it up in the A tier. Now, it's not really necessarily better than some of the ones in the A tier, but what makes it S tier for me is hearing all the different voice lines that were recorded for this cantrip. There is 2 hours of voice acting done for this. Every single character, if you play them as a bard or a warlock with the Book of Secrets, is going to have this. And it's hilarious just hearing them yell out different things at the enemies. It's for fun's sake, I'm putting it in the S tier. It does psychic damage, which is not often resisted to, so it does have some nice usefulness, and it causes disadvantage on attack rolls, which means they're likely going to miss you. Not a lot of people are talking about Vicious Mockery, but I do think it is quite strong. It might not be, like, there's other chances where the A tier might be better, but Vicious Mockery, it's just fun just to hear people yell out different things that they yell at the enemies. So that is what I think of the cantrips in Baldur's Gate 3. Eldritch Blast, far and beyond the best, and True Strike, the worst. So let me know in the comments what you think of this, and if you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below, and I'll see you in the next video.